The Verdict with World Pool.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, where we will go far and wide, having a look at some interesting performances from last week. We'll be at Kempton, we'll go to Chelmsford as well, and then we'll work our way towards the weekend and go to Sandown, Beverley, and finally the Curragh. So lots to enjoy in the programme. We'll be utilising the Race IQ data as ever, and we are going to start at Kempton last week on Wednesday evening. Let's have a look at the winners on that card. The ground was described as standard to slow, and Gabrielle's a horse that we're going to major on, who took the opening contest over a mile, 1 minute 40.2, 2.8 above the Racing Post standard. Every time above. Sarab Star, pretty impressive in the 6:37. Almost made the Verdict, Sarab Star, but not quite. Gabrielle is the one we concentrate on. Let's see what Race IQ time index he achieved. Pretty good. The times were decent on the day, and even over a mile and a half, where they tend to crawl and then sprint, the times were good. Race 5 and race 7, the meeting average 6.6, almost bang on the average in the first. Gabrielle achieving 6.4 out of 10. So you'd say that the ground was really standard rather than standard to slow based on those times. So let's major and concentrate on Gabrielle. A second start for this son of Frankel out of Thistlebird. It was a very useful mare. It was messy in the early part of the race. Gabrielle taken back early on as National History went to the front. The first furlong was fairly quick, and then they were par sectionals for the next two. He broke well, Gabrielle, second fastest at 20 miles an hour, but then reined back and was a little bit keen in those white colours with the big white face. He's doing a little bit too much through the second and third furlongs, where he ran 11.68 and 12.31. As ever at Kempton, they steadied round the bend, most of them running slowly as against the Race IQ par as they went through the fourth furlong, and then they picked up again in the home straight. What is so impressive about Gabrielle is that he's going to run down the leader, National History, who's got his own way out in front and who quickens quite well from the front, but he can't repel Gabrielle, who's given him a 5 or 6 length head start. Gabrielle coming home in 23.54 for a finishing speed percentage of 106.4. That's a couple of percent above the par, so he's finished off really quickly here. And what he's done is he's run down a horse who's not stopping. Natural History in front, his finishing speed percentage, 104.05. So he's rolling through the final two furlongs, and Gabrielle's had to make up a good deal of ground to get to Natural History, but he does so by quickening really well. 11.66 through the 7th furlong, and then he's really good. 11.88, rated as very fast as against the Race IQ par, with National History in front, not able to get under 12 seconds. That was a sharp turn of foot from Gabrielle to go and run down a leader who'd got first run and was not stopping out in front. A short head between them, but 4.5 lengths back to the third. This is quite an impressive performance from this horse, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come. He doesn't have any entries going forward. He was a bit disappointing on his debut at Sandown, where he went off a 9-4 shot and finished last of 4 in a maiden, but he's clearly learnt an awful lot from that, and he has ceded an advantage to the runner-up here, 5 or 6 lengths on turning in, and then run him down pretty comfortably in the closing stages. He's going to stay further. This is a mile. He'll get a mile and a quarter, you'd have thought, and he's going to be stepped up in grade after this. For all money, you'd have thought that the leader was going to hang on here, because he wasn't stopping National History, but he's run down by a horse with a sharp turn of foot in the closing stages. Gabrielle reaching 38.77 miles an hour. The National History only 38.53. As we can see from the Race IQ summary graph, what was impressive, the most impressive thing, was the fact that he could run down a horse who wasn't stopping. If National History was running 98% for his finishing speed percentage through the final 2 furlongs, stopping in other words, you'd understand why Gabrielle could run him down, but he wasn't stopping, but Gabrielle still got him with that fast final furlong of 11.66. Rab Havlin, the man who was on board a horse who's bred to be useful, he looks useful on the data and he'll step up in grade now. From a useful-looking John and Thady Gosden trained 2-year-old at Kempton, we go to another useful-looking John and Thady Gosden trained 2-year-old at Chelmsford last Thursday. Here are the winners from that evening or afternoon meeting. Demetrius winning again for Sir Mark Prescott. Likely that he'll go in again, you'd have thought. He's on a real roll, that horse. Archer Royal is a horse I want to concentrate on. He won over 7 furlongs really impressively. 124.85, 2.15 above the Racing Post standard. All times there above the standard. How does Archer Royal stack up against all of them when you look at the Race IQ Time Index? Pretty good. These are pretty decent times for what was quite a nice meeting. The meeting average 6.5. That's slightly better than you would expect. And he's achieved a time of 6.6 out of 10. Not quite the best on the card. The best was the sprint, a 7.4. The going described as standard. I think that's absolutely spot on. OK, so 7 furlongs for Archer Royal. There he is, right against the rail in the Godolphin blue. He beat Sovereign View from 2 and Warning Symbol came from stall number 5. He was 3rd fastest to get to 20 miles an hour. Tyler Hurd's on board. He wanted him to go forward, but he just found himself running green and being stuck in behind against the rail. And it's going to be really impressive in the latter stages how he extricates himself from that position. He's copping a fair bit of kickback. You can see it flying up in the air. And he's on debut. So this is a really good effort from this horse. He finds plenty in the closing stages. The early gallop set by a double naughty was just an even gallop. They went fairly steady, 11.11, 11.44, slowed round the bend, 12.14 and 12.24, and it was going to turn into who can sprint best in the home straight. There he is, he's stuck on the rail. He's got absolutely nowhere to go, Archer Royal, and what he does in the latter stages of this race marked him out to be pretty useful, I think. His 6th furlong, 11.73, where he went from 5th place to 4th place. He's doing that now. That's a par sectional. And then you'll see that when he's really asked to pick up, he dips and quickens for an 11.5. There he goes now. Once he got a flick of the whip, I know he flashed his tail, but he's on debut, and he just quickened. Suddenly he realised what he had to do, and that 11.55 final furlong rated as very fast. Bear in mind he's on debut, he was stuck in kickback, he was down on the inside, but he's picked up really well. He's got plenty of speed in his pedigree. He's by Blue Point out of an elusive quality mare, and well, 7 furlongs seems to suit him really well. He'll probably stay a mile eventually. He'll carry a penalty for this. I suspect they'll go softly with him. But what marks him out as being just a bit better than an average winner of a race such as this is that turn of foot and the fact that he could extricate himself from a bad position. And look at him fly by the runner-up. Don't think that the form is all that. The runner-up has run before and not shown a great deal. But it's just the way he quickened past, racing in 7th place, an even gallop. They then steadied and quickened, but he quickened best by a mile. You can see, look, his 2nd last furlong, his 6th furlong, is not as quick as the runner-up. So he had to find a turn of foot in that final furlong. And when he was really asked to go, 11.55 sealed the deal really quickly for Archer Royal. He's a useful-looking 2-year-old. Doesn't have any fancy entries going forward. But it'll be very interesting to see what they do with him. And, well, if they run in a novice, he'll certainly defy a penalty. I'm going to continue the theme of looking at 2-year-olds. This time we'll go to Sandown on Friday afternoon and have a look at a striking performance from an Owen Burrows trained colt. Here are the winners on the day when the ground was very much on the easy side, particularly on the sprint course. They were slow times for those first couple of races on that. We then turn our attention to the round course, and you can see how slow they were. 5.6 above the Racing Post standard, 7.8, 7.27 and 9.98 above. We'll have a look at the 3:15, a 7-furlong contest, which was won by Stick to Your Guns. And the time index achieved by Stick to Your Guns was pretty good, 6.7 on ground that was described as soft. And, well, there was an argument to say that it was soft, heavy in places, looking at those times. But this, under the conditions, is a very good time from a debutant who's bred to go on soft ground, being by without parole out of a Lethal Force mare. That is a soft ground pedigree. Winner from 5, second the Joker from 8, third a Credit, big eyecatcher, one for your racing TV trackers. I'll tell you why in a minute. Came from stall 11 for the Gosdens and Colin Keane. It was the Joker who went forward in the early part of this contest, which was quite steadily run early on, and Stick to Your Guns is quite keen. You can see in the Paul and Claire Rooney colours right towards the back, the yellow and blue, doing a little bit too much under Safi Osborne at this stage as they crawl along through the opening sectional. Stick to Your Guns running 12.82, 14.2 and 13.3. Jockeys wary of the soft conditions, trying to hang on to their mounts so that they get home up the Sandown hill. Nonetheless, this horse has got plenty to do. There he is, right towards the back with a Credit. He runs on very strongly and finishes third and is very eye-catching here. The final 2 furlongs for the winner, 25.12, giving him a finishing speed percentage of 104.08. But look at the move a Credit's making. Far left, pink cap, hanging, head to one side. But the data suggests he was the fastest horse from the 3 to the 2 and the second fastest, the 2 to the 1, before he just emptied and got a little bit tired. Meanwhile, Stick to Your Guns is making up ground towards the stand side with 2 fast furlongs as against par, 12.1 and that 13.02. And he goes past the Joker, who had the run of the race out in front. And the Joker holds on for second from a Credit, who made that big move from 3 to 2 from the back of the field and looked very green and hung. And I think there's going to be a lot more to come from him. He had the second fastest final couple of furlongs in the race behind the winner. You can rate him as finishing second, really, a Credit, and there's going to be a lot more to come. Finishing speed percentage 104.08 for the winner. That's pretty good on soft ground up the hill. He was able to finish off quite strongly despite wandering and looking a little bit immature and green in the closing stage. He's trained by Owen Burrows, who's striking at about 25% this season. There's sure to be more to come from Stick to Your Guns, but the 2 that we concentrate on, spread by the width of the track, and a Credit on the data, very much needs marking up, coming from the back of the field on the far side and just looking a little bit more clueless than the winner in the closing stages. The Gosdens will find an opportunity for that horse next time up, and I fancy to say that he will win when we see him next. Look at this horse. Big, strong, substantial individual, pricking his ears near the line. He's won with a bit in hand. And here is the Race IQ data showing that he reached 37.59 miles an hour. And he did that in the latter part of the race. You can see the Joker, he did a bit of his work early on. His highest speed was in the second furlong. Now look at a Credit, that big move, 38.12 miles an hour through that 5th furlong. He was the fastest horse in the race at any individual point, and 11.97 from a Credit is the fastest furlong in the race. It's just that things didn't quite work out for him, and he was too green to go on and win the contest. The first and the third useful, the third to win next time. Second day of Sandown's Solario meeting came up on Saturday. We'll have a look at a performance there now that really caught my eye and was one of the best performances of the weekend by some way. Here are the winners. And the ground was once again on the soft side. It was officially described as soft. There was a very nice double for Roger Varian and Ray Dawson with Lady of Spain in the 2:25 and Saddad in the 3 o'clock contest. It really was an excellent card, and it's Lady of Spain who I'm going to concentrate on. 2.98 above the Racing Post standard over 1 mile. Here is the Race IQ time index. What did she achieve? Sandown, oh boy, Look at this. This is a very good time compared to all of the other horses on the card. 8.1. The meeting average is 5.3. She's destroyed them in terms of ability here. And I think this unbeaten filly is going places. Let's have a look at what she achieved in terms of the raw data. Stall 14, she beat Blue Bolt from 11. Skellet was third from stall number 4. She was 8th fastest to reach 20 miles an hour. Took her 2.54 seconds. That's not because of inexperience, for she came here unbeaten after wins on the all-weather and a listed success at Deauville. Her second furlong rated as very fast, and that tells a tale of the race. 11.53, then 11.98 through the third furlong. They are rocking and rolling in the early part of this race. They're going too fast for the conditions, yet she can pick up and come home reasonably strongly compared to all of her rivals. The early, very fast pace, as against the Race IQ Pars, lasted for 4 furlongs. They then got a bit of a breather in, and then it was about a war of attrition up the hill. And you can see that. Look at her final 2 furlongs, 27.89. Boy, is that slow. Finishing speed percentage of 93.31. The par FSP is 101.1. She has ground out success here in an attritional contest where they went too hard early on. That slow break has allowed Ray Dawson to tuck her in and maybe save a bit of energy, and she's ground it out. And my contention is that she is going to be a much better horse on better ground. I think just her raw ability has got her to the front here to run down Blue Bolt in the closing stages. 14.53, final furlong is slow. Blue Bolt even slower at 14.66. And she's just got there in difficult conditions up the hill at Sandown. When she won her listed race at Deauville, she posted a very good time figure. And she did so by quickening and winning readily under Christophe Soumillon. Here, this wasn't a case of quickening. She's shown another side to her ability, and that is her ability to grind it out, to cope with a fast early pace, and then find more than her rivals in the closing stages. I was most impressed with this. It was a bit of an upside-down race, going very fast early on, causing a very slow finish up the hill. But she came out as being easily the best horse in this race. She's got a time form speed figure of 108 for this, which is very good under the conditions. Her Race IQ time index was miles better at 8.1 than anything else on the card. Her Race IQ final time was rated as fast, so you just have to be really positive about this unbeaten filly. It'll be very interesting to see what they want to do with her now. She's won at Wolverhampton twice, Southwell, Deauville, and now Sandown. And she holds an entry in the Sun Chariot at Newmarket over a mile. That comes up on the 4th of October. This really illustrates nicely how they ran as against the Race IQ Pars, and the colour coding makes it obvious that they've gone very fast through the first bit of the race, the first 4 furlongs. They've steadied a little bit there with par furlongs, where she's in 9th place, still with 3 to go. And then, although she's come home very slow against the Race IQ Pars, she's still been able to come home better than her rivals. I think on better ground, she's going to be a force to contend with, and the Sun Chariot makes a lot of sense in early October. Yeah, I wanted to go to Beverley. It's a big day for them on Saturday. It's Beverley Bullet Day, and that's the race I'm going to concentrate on. After we've just had a look at the winners on the day, there, Spiridelta winning the opening contest. In a good time, actually. Chagrin's time in the Bullet was good as well, just 1 second above the Racing Post standard, and the other times are in accordance with that. But Chagrin put up a really nice effort. Let's have a look at the Race IQ time index and see what that says about this effort. And good. Best time on the card, 6.4. On ground described as good to firm, good in places. Probably nearer good than good to firm, looking at those times. Those 2.7 furlong times were slow. They were quite steadily run races. They're still quite slow, as was the second last race, a 5 furlong contest. So you're probably nearer good than good to firm, but still decent flat racing ground. Let's have a look at what Chagrin achieved from stall 5 here. Beat Adrestia from 1, and Star of Lady M came from stall number 2. And immediately Curragh, with the big white face, has done something that he hasn't done for a while. He broke really well. 2.26 seconds to get to 20 miles an hour. And he has only bettered that once in 2025 at Goodwood on his seasonal reappearance. He's generally been slowly into stride and raced in rear in his races. But here, he's jumped smartly and tracked the pace, and that's made all the difference. Look, his third furlong was par. It's 11.36 as he sat in second place. Then he went 11.72, that's par as well. And he came home evenly to land this in good style with the final 2 furlongs of 24.43 finishing speed percentage, almost bang on par, 99.87 as opposed to 99.66. So rated really evenly. He's just gone the same speed through the whole race. But the important thing was that he broke on terms this time. He's not been doing that throughout 2025, but this time he was able to do so. Fastest to 20 miles an hour here. Last time at Newmarket, 8th fastest. The time before at Goodwood, 15th fastest. The time before that at Haydock, 4th fastest. Time before that at York, 6th fastest. But here, really quickly into stride, tracked the pace, rated evenly, and won a shade comfortably under Kevin Stott. And I think Connections have probably done a bit of work on his the way he comes out of the stalls, because this time he was a lot sharper than is normally the case. I just want to mention Regional. He's on the rail, he's being eased off. He was favourite for this. He's a really good sprinter. He's a Group 1 sprinter, really. This is a drop in grade for him. Hope he's all right, because he was eased off throughout the final furlong or so, and all was clearly not well with him. Curragh, though, wins what was a competitive listed sprint by 2 1/4 lengths. He's found out what to do now. Get out of the stalls, mate, and you'll win a listed race. Okay, a final race we're going to look at. The verdict this week comes from the Curragh. Here are the winners from Saturday. It was a bumper card, an interesting card actually, with Red Letter dipping the understanded hard-fought success over 9 furlongs in the 3:27 contest. But the one that caught my eye was Mission Central in the 2:52, completing 6 furlongs in 1:12.36. Here's the Race IQ time index for the meeting. The times are pretty good overall. As you can see from this, the meeting average 5.9, and that's shown to you by that red line going across the screen. So there's a few races that are above that, the last, the second last, and indeed Mission Central, who won in pretty good style and is an interesting horse going forward, not least because he's a 2-year-old who's been gelded, and he's still with the Aidan O'Brien team, which is not something you see very often. He's got bright speed. He was quickly away, 2.56 seconds to 20 miles an hour, and he's in front towards the stand side. He's got bags of pace. He could come back in trip to 5 furlongs. That would be no problem for him whatsoever. We need to keep an eye on the Publican Son. He's back in the field in 8th place on his debut at this point in time, but he flashes home. He might have won in another half furlong as well for the Joseph O'Brien team, and he's a surefire winner, I think, next time. But look at all of these horses in behind Mission Central, who's run evenly. They're all off the bridle. He's still hard on the bridle here, going really well under Wayne Lorden. 11.32, 11.15, 11.17 through furlong 4, and then 11.33. All par sectionals, all going on the bridle, and then suddenly his final furlong, 12.91, rated as very slow. He's getting tired, the head's coming up, and he really is on fumes. He's just seeing it out. Look at the Publican Son, rattling home far side on debut for a faster final couple of furlongs than the winner, and his final furlong of 12.42, much better than the winner at 12.91. So the Publican Son won for your racing TV tracker. Mission Central had them all off the bridle a long way out by going 11.32, 11.15, 11.17, 11.33. But that final furlong was way too much for him. I think coming back to 5 furlongs is definitely going to suit. He looks like a horse that's got plenty of talent, and the fact that they've gelded him and kept him is very interesting. They don't have very many gelded 2-year-olds, the Aidan O'Brien team. Here's the race IQ data as you look at him coming back in. Look at his finishing speed percentage of 99.5. He's getting tired. He's slowing down in the closing stages. Whereas the Publican Son in second, he's getting the hang of it. 101.26, his finishing speed percentage. And in terms of miles an hour and fastest furlongs, there's not much to choose between them. But the Publican Son, 9th fastest to 20 miles an hour, 3.07 seconds. That's why he was on the back foot early, but then he did some good work late on. And he needs to go in your tracker. And Mission Central back to 5 furlongs would be very interesting indeed. So that concludes the verdict this week. A couple of horses for your Racing TV trackers, I think. The Publican Son that we just had a look at, and a Credit who ran really well at Sandown on debut on Friday. But the Gold Star for last week definitely belongs to Lady of Spain. Unbeaten filly for Roger Varian, possibly going to be targeted at the Sun Chariot. She was really impressive in an attritional contest at Sandown Park, producing a very good time and some really interesting data. She remains unbeaten and she is a potential Group 1 horse in the making. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.
The verdict with World Pool.